client was asking for a fixed rate for 3 years. Give us your rate, you've got to hold it for 3 years, right? So what that client's basically saying to us is you can't reward your people for 3 years, and at the same time we'll get a poke in the chest if we don't keep them. How do you advise clients on their role in helping us do this? Because I think that we've all got some skin in the game.
We try and get people to focus away from the cost of media. We point out to them that focusing on the agency's fee is really only talking about 3 to 5% of their total investment, and that we try and move them towards either a performance or value-based, where there's upside for getting more than their fair share of the value that's actually intrinsic in the media. Now, a lot of marketers are not even in that place because they do not make any connection between their budget, they talk about budget spend, not investment, and they have no measure at the other end of actually being able to close the value equation. Okay? In that case, there's nothing. They will always keep going on price, and they think that they win the game by keeping the cost to a minimum. In actual fact, we've had about 5 or 6 case studies where we've been brought in to fix a cost-only game, because over 2 or 3 years it's actually led to them losing millions of dollars in real value. Okay? It's just a matter of education, and that's procurement, marketing, and the CFO and the CEO. And it's a much bigger issue. I have to say it's a much bigger issue in Australia than it is in Europe and to a lesser extent the US.
Is that getting worse or better, Darren?
Worse. It's getting worse because procurement has only started to get a foothold here, and they focus on the low-hanging fruit, which is the fee paid to the agency, which, as I said, is around 3 to 5%, maybe more. In digital, it's up to 15 or 20% in some cases, but they focus on that. The other 80% is totally irrelevant to them and hidden to them because it's seen as a cost of buying media.
And you're going to get what you asked for in that dynamic.
But most people don't realise that.
Yeah.
So, Mark, what I'd suggest to you is you either don't participate or you recommend to them that you have either a CPI adjustment or a value-based adjustment. And if they don't want it, then there's nothing you can do. The buyer, I believe in the golden rule. The man with the gold makes the rules. If they want the lowest possible fee, restructure, and you want to play that game, restructure your business to deliver the lowest possible. Forget about quality, because they're not buying quality. They're only buying price.
You go through the process, and you're told up front it's not going to be judged on price. And of course, you get to the end, and guess what?
It's on price.
Yeah, so you take it on this charade all the way through it. It is getting worse. It is getting worse.
That's what media sales is to most managers. Come up with some great ideas. It won't be about the price.
Exactly, and then it's a full-page colour.
The reverse screw's coming.
Well, but do you think the real issue is that, in actual fact, what you say you sell actually has no value? What you say you sell, which is intellectual property, ideas, actually, commercially, has no value. Is that the problem?
No, because they've got the gold bag.
They don't have it. They have it.
That's the opportunity of that polarisation, though, because you're right, we don't put enough value against ideas, we don't put enough value against innovation, and we put a lot of value in the middle of this aggregated piece of which is just called media. So commoditise that which can be commoditised, and value and premiumise that bit which is fundamentally premium, which is much harder to find and much more valuable to any business.
So when we look at, say, partnerships, sponsorships, I've always said to people, why are you giving the idea components at no charge and charging for 30 seconds 5 million, So the 30 seconds package, really, that should be at no cost because that's commoditization and, the commercial component, but you should really charge for your ideas. But no one wants to do it.
No one's going to pay for them. No marketer in their right mind is going to pay for an idea because basically they can get it for free from your competitor.
But that's now what we're talking about, is that we can't innovate because we're going to have programmatic buying and commercialization of the airtime and space and so on. So really, we should be charged for the ideas.
Yeah, good luck.
They are valued, though. They are valued.
They are valued, but they won't pay for
them. But they are valued, and if you consistently
show
your value...
I value you, Rob. But don't expect any money.
Yeah, but if you consistently can deliver valuable ideas, you'll build a long-term relationship and you'll make money over time. Because if you're valuable, the money will flow. It's,
Until you get to procurement.
Hello, Chris Walton from Quantium. I've got a question about drugs. and that's rebates or OMI.
Social or performance enhancing?
Or rebate financial ones.
Right,
So they're
okay.
like crack cocaine to media agencies. But where does this issue, my question is, where does this issue go? Because media agencies get it from media owners. Media owners are getting bled dry by them, and which they have to hand them over because the gold bags with the media agencies. The media agencies claim they need them because the clients aren't paying them enough. Clients aren't paying them enough because they don't see value. And we go round this merry little circle again and again, year after year, whilst the situation gets worse. So we end up where conflicts of interest are just becoming a bit of a joke. So question to the whole panel is, where is this going to end? What's going to break it, or is it just going to carry on being the elephant in the room?
I'm aware of these conversations in our industry, and it's important that they are not part of that value chain, because then you cannot genuinely ask for value for what you actually do. So it's really important, and I know a lot of agencies are also talking about transparency out there. It's certainly a position that we take, and not to talk about us, but it's increasingly our whole industry has to take a position of absolute transparency and to be paid fairly for the actual work that you actually do.
As well, understanding what those benchmarks are, because the goalposts continually keep changing. So it's how do you stay on top of the fact that you're actually getting the best deal, and you're always going to push, because you wouldn't be a media if you didn't negotiate. So it's kind of your job as the client to get the best deal for the best ROI. There's
an example of a couple of marketers that are happy to have no agency fees, but the agency in return said you can't audit us. Is that a acceptable solution? Is it an acceptable solution for the marketers?
It's not an acceptable solution for me, that's for sure.
No.
It's not?
No.
Oh, okay.
How can you have a fair and equitable relationship with a client that isn't absolutely transparent? It flummoxes me, this entire conversation. I don't get it.
You're supposed to be buying the media for the best outcome for the customer, not for the best outcome for your own business.
But they've saved. They've got the procurement ticket because they're paying nothing for agency fees.
You're going to end up in a model there.
Sorry?
Someone's going to end up in court there, basically.
Okay. It's a commercial arrangement. Would you enter into it, Toby?
No.
Chris?
Absolutely not.
No, I mean, transparency is the only way you can fix it. And when I say transparency, I think rebates will continue to happen, but there's got to be some sense that whether they're shared in some way with the customer, as in the clients or whatever, not specifying where the rebates have come from, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think it's back to the original point. It's a low margin business now, and people are looking for other options on how to get remunerated.
Okay.
So again, you should just get paid for what you do, though, right? So it's really simple, and it shouldn't be any more complicated than that. And so every contract that should be in place between all of us should be clearly visible, and should be you get paid for what you do, and everyone should be allowed to spend as much time rummaging around everyone else's audited books as they like, and then this whole conversation goes away.
Just have a question about collaboration, because we've talked about collaboration quite a lot today, and I'd be interested to know that in the current climate where smaller margins, collaboration requires more time and more resource, none of which any of you guys have. So how do we actually foster genuine collaboration when we say it and it's a holy grail, but actually can we actually really deliver it?
It's attitude, and trust is a huge part of it, but it's about the game that you bring to that big group of people that you're working with, and stepping up and leading. We can all do that, and I think it's about the headspace rather than needing more people and more time.